This is a D6 Generation Pip. Bite-sized content for a busy gamer. Sometimes featuring Craig, sometimes featuring Russ.
Hey, what about me?
Oh yeah, and sometimes featuring Rafe, Hollywood Granger.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the D6 Generation. This time around, I kind of wanted to go through and talk a little bit about receiving your crowdfunded board game and what that's like, and maybe sort of what people can do to get you excited about those expectations and to give you confidence even before you open the box of the results, as well as, you know, what it's like to open the game and sort of see if they actually met your expectations. And the reason I'm choosing to do this today is because I just got a Kickstarter that I backed a little over, well, I guess a year and a half ago now. So I just received my pledge for the collector's edition of Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Technically, it's Castles of Mad King Ludwig, the collector's edition. Now, I have the original Castles of Mad King Ludwig board game. I've had it for a very long time. It's not a game I play a lot, but I do really enjoy it. I love the idea of it. I like the methodology of the game, the mechanics of the game, the concept of the game. Plus, I'm a huge Castles fan, so just the idea of having this game in my collection was always cool. But one of the things about the game that I think prevented it from coming to the table more often for my group was we're really all about the components. Now, the original Castles of Mad King Ludwig had good components, I would argue, pretty solid components. It was a great looking game on the table, but it didn't like pop off the table, right? And you're building a castle and it was kind of flat. So when I saw the collector's edition, and the collector's edition, this Kickstarter funded back in February 18th, I think. I'm looking at the Kickstarter now, February 18th, 2021. So it's been over a year now since it funded. And, when I was looking at this thing and the collector's edition, some of the things that kind of caught my eye were the fact that it was all about just really leveling up the components of the game, making it a little more three-dimensional, making it have a lot more table presence, just making it feel much more like a high-end sort of collectible game. I don't mean collectible as in like, collectible card game. I mean collectible as in a really cool thing to have in your collection because it's just a uniquely well-produced game whose components reflect the quality of the rules, if that makes sense. Because one of the things that bothers me about games so much is like, if you have a great rule set, but the components are only mediocre, then you really feel like you're missing something, right? It's a rare gem that has wonderful mechanics as well as wonderful components. You've got a lot of games out there that have amazing components, and the rules are meh. Or the components are so overproduced, you don't even understand why they went that way. But looking at the Kickstarter for Castles of Mad King Ludwig, looking at how the mechanics of the original game used to play and how much I enjoyed that one, I thought, wow, this would be something really cool to add to the collection. And you always know on Kickstarters in particular, you get some of that over-the-top stuff in there that's kind of a little fun that you can't get later when this thing comes to the mass-produced sort of version of it. So I was excited about this, and I looked at the levels, and I was trying to decide which level to back. I liked how they really focused on, the Kickstarter was designed for folks who already knew their game, obviously. And by the way, for those who don't know, this is by Bazier Games, the guys who make Werewolf and a bunch of other games. So they're a well-known publisher, right? So there was no risk with this Kickstarter. It wasn't like a little company starting out. It's a well-known publisher, so you knew you were going to get the game. That was pretty much a given. They were just looking to level up this thing, and they wanted to see if people would be willing to, back it. And of course they did. They got great numbers on this thing. So what I liked about it, what attracted me to it was, first of all, I do like, longtime listeners will know, I do like a lot of box control, right? So they have a whole section here on partnering with game trays with a Z, right? And making sure that all the components store back into the box. And they talk about redoing all the art to make the game pop even more. Because I would say the art was good before, but it could definitely have used a little love. And it looks like they're doing a lot of that. Of course, some new expansion, three-dimensional towers for the castle, new ways to lay out the boards, which look really cool. Rewriting the whole rule book just to be cleaner, easier to understand, better layout, just all the things that I sort of really like. So then the question was, okay, well, which edition of the game do I want to get? Well, there was the pledge one, the level 1 collector pledge. For you guys, I almost never get the first level of a pledge unless there's like really only 2 levels in a Kickstarter, which is like level 1 and then the retailer version, right? Then of course you get the main one. But in most Kickstarters, there's like the level 1 set, which is basically as if you bought it off the store shelf. And then there's the one level above that that's usually the really cool version that still gets you all the stretch goals. And then there's the level above that that's just crazy, which you would do if this is like one of your favorite games of all time, right? So as I mentioned, I like this game a lot. I want a nice version of it in my collection, but it's not like my favorite game of all time. So I didn't quite go for the Colossal Pledge, and I didn't go for the Moats expansion stuff, although that did look pretty cool, and you always have a little bit of FOMO at the end when you don't get that. But I skipped right past the collector level and went right to Pledge level 2, the Royal level. And so at the Royal level, I was really expecting to get trays for storing all the components. I was expecting to get some cool wooden pieces that kept track of the first player. I was expecting to get really cool towers and metal coins at this level, which I love. I love a good set of metal coins, right? So all that stuff mattered. And this level, by the way, the level 1 pledge was like $99 US, and the level 2 pledge was $129. And then when you get to level 3, you're closing in at like $169. You're starting to close in at $200, and I just feel like 100 to 130 for 150 for a really good board game is where I like to live. When you're getting close to 200, unless it's one of my favorite games of all time or really it's right in my sweet spot, I'll stay away from those. So looking really good at the level 2. So this is what I backed, right? So I did this back over a year ago, as I mentioned, February 2021. And here we are, fast forward to now. I literally just received this box earlier this week, and I decided I'm not going to open it. I want to open it live on the show and kind of walk through, sharing with you in real time how I'm feeling about this, and am I happy with my pledge and with how it came and how it was packaged, and what was my confidence level. And I'll tell you this, right off the bat, my confidence level was pretty high because first of all, I expected the box to be big and deep, but the first thing I saw was when the box was shipped up to my front porch was that it was in a cardboard box, as all games who are shipped are, right? Anything that's shipped to you. But on the outside of the box, there's actually black, artwork inked over the box that says, it's got the art of Castles of Mad King Ludwig on it, and actually says Royal Collector's Edition. So by glancing at the shipped box, I immediately know it's enough quality so it has the logo of the game on the outside, so I know what it is. And also it actually has my pledge level on there right on the box, so I know I got the right thing, which also gives me confidence that this stuff was packed in the right way and that the right edition was shipped to me. So just by glancing at the box, I already had really good confidence. I wish all Kickstarters did something like this because it really gives you that feeling of like, okay. Also, what I liked is quantity in the box. It said 1, which made me feel really good as well because I am expecting, right? One of the things about this collector's edition I really liked, and actually one of the reasons I didn't go to higher collectim levels is at this level, everything fits back into one box. I don't want a multi-box game if I can avoid it. I like all my components to fit into one box. A lot of game manufacturers are doing a really good job of this lately. And so this edition, what I was excited about was leveling up all the components, but still fitting in a box. It's a big box, no doubt. It's probably the size of the new Dune Imperium with all the cool bits box, about that size, for those of you who know that, or about the size of the Ankh box, but a little bit deeper. Probably twice as deep as Ankh if you got the Ankh edition, but just a square, right? So if I'm measuring it, looking at it with my hands, it's about 6 to 8 inches deep, and then maybe, 10 by 10 as a square. It is square from the top down. So I opened the cardboard box just now, so for the first time, right here on the air, and sure enough, exactly fitting in the cardboard box was the board game box, the one that's going to look good on your shelf. It's got all the artwork on it. It's an amazing looking linen box. Looks really, really good. It is shrink wrapped. And on top of it, they just had a couple of thin sheets of cardboard just to kind of put a little padding in there for when they closed it. There wasn't any protection for shipping, but the good news was my particular box did not get dented or damaged in shipping. So the box, as well as the game box, you might be hearing me unwrap this thing now. I'm unwrapping the cellophane off of the game. So you can hear that I have not opened this up yet. We're going to see what this looks like. Now, looking at the actual box itself of the board game, art is fantastic. Very excited about the art situation in this one. The again, stenciled all over it is that cool Castles of Mad King Ludwig logo. Bazier Games on there, really strong. Great artwork of the castle. It looks a little bit like Neuschwanstein, but obviously not quite the same. Even if you lift the lid, there's art all the way around the inside cover of the box, which I love. And on the back of the box, if I flip this around, you can see that the box is designed to actually go on a store shelf if it ever made it that far. And maybe there'll be some someday that are, where it shows you the art, the layout of the game, what's included. And I can see right on my list of contents, there's gold. It lists all the contents. And then some of the items and contents are listed in gold font indicating that this must be the things I get extra that are royal. For example, the metal coins are listed on there. The plastic swan tokens are listed on there. The plastic swan player markers, or maybe they wouldn't. I have to go look. So you can see what makes this a special edition of the game, which is really, really, really cool. So the Royal Collector's Edition is printed around the box on the front and the back. So know what I got. So now, here we go. I'm going to open up the top of the box. I don't know if you can hear the pop there. New game smell. I love it. So here I am inside this thing. Now, the very first thing I'm welcome to and see, a couple things. On the very top, I've got a little product catalog from Brazier Games. Great. I'll throw that over here. I like them, but I don't need to look at their catalog. Then right on the top is a single rules booklet. It looks great. It's got the same art on the front. And then if I flip through this rule booklet, all full color, page numbers really nicely. It's an 8.5 by 11 rules booklet, and it's stapled on the edge, so it's definitely not bound per se. But if I go to the front of the rules booklet, I can see all my components here. I can see the setup being laid out, player setup. Now, I will ding this. Long-time listeners know I love to see a table of contents or an index. This book seems to have neither of those, although there is a nice quick reference section in the back, but no quick reference guide in the back of the book, which is too bad, but it does go through all the cards and everything. So points there for that. It does look lovely layouts, though. You can definitely see they put a little more time into laying out the rule book. Easy to read, font's nice and big, which is good for gamers of age, such as myself, who are now have progressive lenses and all that sort of thing. So I think old and young alike will be able to understand this rule set. So it's going to be fun to dig into, and I'll talk more about that in the future. So the rule book's right there on the top, ready to look at. I'm going to put that over here as well. I'm sorry if I'm moving away from the mic. I apologize when I'm playing with things as I do this. Then there is a nice cardboard sheet with a bunch of player tokens, the 12 foyer tokens, which are extra. They're cardstock, but they look great. They have cool logos on there. That's going to be fun. And then the next thing we get is a really cool game board mat where you can lay things out, and that looks awesome. That's actually heavy cardstock. Looks like it unfolds and comes together. And there's recessed sections of the game board where you can put different components. That looks awesome as well. So ready to dive into that too. And that's one of the new things in the latest edition. So very excited to see that. But then once you get below that and take this board out, now we're looking at really cool game trays. And if you haven't seen the game trays before, which these guys really have their business model figured out. They seem to be creating game trays for a lot of the major games now. They were there in Veil of Fate, had them in there when I was looking at that. I'm kind of remember a couple of the games. Of course, they sell them separately for other games, but a couple of games I've seen lately have game trays built right into them, which is really impressive. And I'm saying game trays deliberately because, again, this is a brand company, and their brand is right on this particular piece as well. But what's super cool about it is these game trays, they're vacuum formed, and they have a bottom and a top that snaps in. So all the components, they can't shift around in your game. So as soon as I move this cardboard board out of the way, again, with full color, looks like water, recessed area to hold all my components and things as I build stuff. Below that, you can actually see there's this first game tray. Now, in the first game tray, there's this awesome wooden giant, I don't know, maybe like 2 inches high by 1.5 inches wide, very thick wooden castle meeple is the way I can describe it. It's a giant white castle meeple, but full color art on both sides of the castle meeple. And my assumption is, again, I haven't read the new rules, and it's been a little while since I played the game, so you might forgive me here if I get a few things wrong, but this one is, I'm guessing this is the first player / current player token, which I think is really cool looking. And then below that, now everything is contained inside this first vacuum formed games tray. So I'm just going to pull this baby out and see what we got here. Now there's one below this, as there's actually 2 more, how many more below here? 4 more game form trays under here that all come out. And it looks like there's enough for each player, but they're empty at the moment with slots for everything. And my guess is down here in the bottom is a bunch of cardboard stuff I got to poke out to fill up my trays. But what's going to be awesome is once I poke all that out, each player trays, you're going to be able to put all the components for each player in those trays, or each section of the castle or bank or whatever these are. And then there's little lids you can see right here that pop right onto them. I can look at right here so that nothing's going to fall out and shake around in the box. Again, I love. So already I'm feeling like I'm not even deep into this yet. I already know the mechanics of the game are solid, right? Because I've got an earlier edition of the game. But I'm already really enjoying the level of quality of the rules. And the quality of the components, the way they're stored up and put in the box. And I'm already getting a really good confidence level that this is going to be something that was worth the $130 plus shipping that I paid for to get this. Now, I'm going to pop open the very first layer of my game trays here, if I can do that. You can hear it trying to pop. And how does this work? It's going to have a little poppy. There's tape. Oh, there's tape on it. So, pro tip on the game trays: don't rip too hard. Look for the tape, otherwise you could. The plastic on the game trays is awesome, but it's not super thick, which you wouldn't really want super thick plastic because then it would weigh too much and also probably cost a lot more to produce. So it's thick enough to be reasonably sturdy, but thin enough where if you really were to yank hard and not catch the tape, you could rip it or flex it or snap it. So be a little careful there. So I've taken the top layer off of the game tray here, and inside here is a lot of really interesting, cool stuff. So there's these giant, different kinds of towers for your castle. One of them kind of looks like the Hollywood Tower of Terror from Disney World, which is sort of funny. Another one looks like a giant purple spire sort of situation, and then we got one that looks sort of like I don't know, either the Lighthouse of Alexandria or maybe the Leaning Tower of Pisa before it was leaning. I'm not sure what, but there's another one of those. A bunch of a short, squat one that looks kind of like a hotel. All kinds of cool towers. What's cool is though they're hard plastic formed, really strong. These towers, and they are full color. Right, just glancing at them with really great painting on them. So I don't know if these are painted by hand or machine painted somehow with printing. I don't know how they did this, but it looks great. Actually look really good. I'm going to say they're not painted by hand. I'm going to say there's some other kind of methodology to get these painted, but they look awesome. They look fantastic, really. Now, also right here, there's a little, oh, this is cool. I don't even know what this is. There's a little, I don't know how to describe this. There's this little, hexagon sort of shape that looks like a main foyer or something, or like an entryway. And then there's this little clear dome over it and a bunch of shrubbery inside or something. And I don't even know how to describe this thing, but it looks super cool. It almost looks like a snow globe without the snow in it, but it's tiny. And then you've got a bunch of things that hold components here. I've got a cool tray that shows where to slot everything. So almost imagine, trays for decks of cards where you have like the draw pile and the discard pile, and they're plastic trays with slots on the edges so you can get the cards in and out. There actually is one of those for cards, but there's also one of these which are different shapes where you can put the various tiles that you'll be using, that you'll be bidding on and building into your castle. And so this holds and organizes all of them, so it'll look really great on the tabletop. And there's a bunch of these trays. So as I look deeper in here, I'm gonna get deeper here, and I got to take more tape off here to get to the next layer. So these game trays are sort of interesting because they are double deep. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you take them apart in layers, and then there's more depth below them. So as I go deeper into this, I actually see there are even more trays for organizing stuff. And what's kind of nice is inside in the bottom of these trays, it tells you if you should be using this tray for which kind of player counts you have and how many of each component go into each slot. So these trays are awesome because they have little quick reference information right on them to let you know how many tiles go into each of these depending on your player counts at the start of the game. I'm assuming that's what that means. It looks like it. I'll report more later after I play the game if that's true. Also here at the deepest level, there are those deck holders I talked to you about. There's actually a couple of those, along with a couple of really deep sort of turrets, sort of round tubes, which can hold a bunch of round sort of tokens. I'm assuming I'm going to go in there, along with some shrink wrap decks of cards for various elements of the game, which I'll go through as well. So the first level of game trays looks fantastic. I have to say, component quality off the charts. And, here right now, because I played this game before, again, I'm really just here for the component quality at the moment. I'm already confident the game's going to be fun to play. I am curious to dive into the rule book a little later and sort of figure out what was changed, if anything major was changed. But I never really researched any of that because I was just like, oh, the components look great. And I had high confidence that Bazir would get this right. So I wasn't really too worried about the rule mechanics changes. I was just more excited for the components and seeing those sorts of things. So that was the very first level. So again, as a reminder, what have I taken out of the box so far? Game catalog from the game company. Then the rule book looked great. Would love to see a table of contents and index, but what are you going to do? Oh, by the way, I should say though, to be fair to them, my critique of the game, I'm away from the mic again, folks. I'm sorry. My critique of the index and table of contents is I don't want to overstate that because total pages in the rule book is 27. So it's not like this rule book is some massively long tome where you're not going to find anything. But still, it's nice to be able to quickly find stuff. So I do appreciate a little bit of that. So we've taken out the rule book. We've taken out the unfolding board, the main area of the board for working on. I've taken out some of the player tokens. And then, of course, the very first layer of game trays, which was a double game tray layer, which had the towers, which had that cool snow globe situation, and which also had the trays for organizing the various tiles that players will be collecting and adding to their castles, as well as card management and all that sort of stuff. So a great amount of table management in here, in addition to all this great box control. And then, of course, that awesome full color castle meeple that was in the top of the game tray. So now I'm going to go to the next level in the box. And at the next level, there are 2 interlocking game trays that come out. And these game trays they're symmetrical in that they interlock and fill up one layer of the box, but they are asymmetric in that they are designed to hold different types of components. So one of them is clearly designed to hold all the different castle pieces with this, and right on the bottom, again, this is really nicely done. In each tub of the sort of the game trays where you're expected to, you're supposed to go punch out a bunch of components in the token boards, which you haven't gotten to yet, and then put them in all these various little slots here. There's nice numbers on them that clearly show the point values for each of these pieces, so you know exactly where to put what in these trays. And these trays are going to keep all those pieces organized for faster setup and teardown of the game and faster gameplay and sorting. So this is really, not only does it look beautiful, but it's really going to enhance gameplay, which I really appreciate. So there's good graphic design even in the trays. One tray looks like it's designed to hold all the different shaped castle pieces that are rectangular, small circles, and hallways. The other one holds similar things, maybe circular towers, it looks like, at 500 points. There's some stairway throws here. And there's a little bag full of a bunch of tokens that are supposed to go in there as well. So those 2 ready to poke out and fill up as well. So that's the next layer of game. And then the final layer, oh, these are heavy. Oh my goodness. The good stuff. So the layer below that is 2 more of these purple game trays, right? They also interlock to fill up another whole layer. And the reason I'm saying they're heavy, they're made of the same thing, but these are pre-populated. So the one I was showing you talking about it a minute ago, and I'll put pictures, by the way, of all this stuff up on our Facebook page and our Twitter feed so you guys can see all this. I'm going to do that right after this. But the next layer of trays that I'm talking about has the same sort of shape, these 2 sort of purple L shapes that interlock together to fill up a whole level of the box. But these are already pre-populated. And the reason they're heavy is one of the one I just pulled out now, has all the metal coins in it. So a bunch of beautiful, and I'm looking at them now, they're awesome. Beautiful silver, metallic, and they're metal, metal coins. One side is a swan, and the other side is a 5 with some extra sort of art and fancy things on it. So you can glance at these coins and know they're 5-point coins, or it's actually just 5,000 in small print, so you can see. And then there's another set of coins, which are all the ones. And they also have great art, a little castle art on them. They're bronze looking. Also in this, a bunch of plastic swans of various colors for the players' plastic tokens, and then a bunch of the castle's, the circular cardboard tokens in there as well, which is why that one's so heavy. Now, the other tray on this level also has cool stuff. It has some of the castle walls in here as well to hold more things, and then a spot to hold all those swan tokens once you sort them out as well. So a lot of cool sorting happening here. But man, those metal coins, I just got to open this up now, guys. I can't keep moving. I must look at the metal coins. Let me pop this open real quick. Checking for tape all around the edge. There is none. It popped right open. Nice. All right, let me check out these metal. Ooh, I was wrong. So I was mentioning there. Wow, these component quality is a little bit crazy. So looking at things more closely, in this one tray, it has 2 little pods for the metal coins. And as I mentioned, one of the metal coins is a 5. It looks like 000 next to. I think it's just a 5, but it looks, if you squinted wrong, it would look like 5,000. And the other coins are 1s. They are metal. You can hear me clinking them. Wait, I'm going to try to clink them. I'm clinking them against each other next to the microphone. I don't know if you can hear that. Those are the metal 5s, and then these are what the little metal 1s sound like. Same, right? But they're all metal. The 1s are definitely bronze, so they're also different sizes. So at a glance, you can tell from the color, the size, as well as the iconography that one is a 5 and one is a 1. The swans are nice. They're heavy plastic. And they're all different colors. And I can see by taking them out of their little bag below them, there are a bunch of vacuum formed shapes to hold all the swans in a nice, neat, orderly manner in this tray. But the thing that I'd gotten wrong until I opened this box up was also I mentioned there's all those great special circle tokens, which add sort of objectives and things to the different rooms, and bonus points for completing a room or, for musical instruments or whatever. These are not tokens. These are actually like poker chips. Let me see if you can hear them clicking together. Let me try to click them. Wait, I'm going to do some Foley activity here. I'm clicking these together. right? So they're heavy. They're about the size. They're a little bit smaller than a poker chip. They're a little bit thinner than a poker chip, but not much. Nice, hard, glossy plastic. Amazing art. These things look awesome. And this is going to give us the ability to, it's just really cool. Again, just kicking this game up to levels it did not have before. So I'm really excited about that tray. This tray right here, combined with the towers, worth the price of admission. And then you add that to all these little game trays, keeping everything organized and squared away. Huge, huge. Looks awesome. And then last but not least, I mentioned already, there's another game tray in there that has all of the spots for some other components, the moats, as well as some more spots for the plastic swan tokens. So that is cool. So clearly when I got all the swans out, they're not all going to quite fit. And so there's space for them in 2 trays. And then below this, so I know I've taken out all the game trays, right? They're all out. Great. The last thing we get to look at is about, oh my goodness, about I'm going to say about 2 inches of cardstock unpoked out, right? So sheets that go edge to edge in the box, 2 inches down below all this stuff. Now, pro tip, I think most of you listeners know this, but, as I mentioned, the way these game trays work, right? They go right to the lid of the box, which is awesome. So when you put the lid back on, everything is firmly pressed down, and so nothing can shake around. Now, the thing you need to remember when you start putting your game together is this box was all designed to perfectly hold everything. And at the very bottom are about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of cardstock that we're going to poke out and put into all the spots on these trays. Because as I mentioned, there's basically 2.5 trays that are empty. And what I expect to happen, and I'll report later in the future, when I poke out all these pieces and sort them and put them in their trays, right, they're going to be, it's going to be great, but, and it's all getting organized, which is awesome. But the downside is if I were to poke out all those pieces and then I was to throw away all the frames, right, the cardboard frames that hold all the pieces, my box would lose 2 inches of height, 1.5 inches of height, which means when I put everything back into the box, there will be a gap between the top of the box and the lid, which means if I put the lid on and shake the game around, the trays will bounce around a little bit. They could pop open. All my hard work and sorting will be at a waste. So what you do, I think everybody knows this, but just as a reminder, what you do is poke those pieces out, sort everything. Don't throw away the frames. Keep the frames and put the frames back into the bottom of the box. That way you still get that 1.5 inches of padding, and you can put all the trays back on top of that and everything will stay flush to the lid, and you'll never see those frames because they'll all be under the bottom of everything else, right? And if someday there's an expansion released and you need that extra little bit of space, you can throw the frames away then, measure out with the new trays and fit them right in there. So pro tip, whenever you're poking things out from a game, think carefully before you throw those the frames away that you poke the pieces out, because a lot of times those can be used to sort of jack the contents of the box up and keep them firm against the lid so you don't have that. So let's talk about these frames or cardstock squares. The first thing I was hoping for was really amazing art. Now, I will say the original Castles of Mad King Ludwig had pretty solid art. Like there wasn't anything really wrong with it. And they had great iconography and graphic design where you can see, great icons on terms of like what does this room do? What categories does it form with? Is it a musical room? Is it a relaxing room? And still have all those icons. But I will say the art, there is the next level of art going on here that I really like to see. Looks great. The pieces are going to pop out easily. So another thing I like to see, and some of them are already popping out as I take this apart, so I'm going to have to be careful here. But one of the things I like to see is that these pieces are popping right out. Because one of the things that's often troubling with the quality of components in terms of cardstock, sometimes when you poke them out right, like they didn't do a good job cutting the edges of the pieces, the die cutting part. And so when you poke them out, the paper on the top will rip a little bit as it pulls away from the frame, and then you'll have a little rip bits. These are falling right out almost, which means they're cut very, very well. And I'd rather have them falling out like this because it means they won't rip as I poke them out. I won't have to be overly cautious of whether I poke them out from the bottom up or the top down or any of that stuff. You can tell I've been doing this for a while. You go through all these sorts of things. So this is fantastic. I am really pleased with how these look. The ones that are falling out, no problem. I'm already starting to sort them. I can barely contain myself to start organizing all this stuff because I have total gamer OCD, right? I want to start putting all these things in their little buckets. And the cool part is, because I'm looking at one of the tokens that just popped right out here, it actually looks like it's the crypts. And it's awesome. I'm looking at a crypt room. On the back is 250. It's a long, thin rectangle. I know based on the shapes in the bottom of the bins in the game tray, where this should go. I already can glance at the game tray. I want to pop the lid off right now and put this guy in there, but I can also see the word crypt. But then also there's this great art showing like little stone crypts on there with little people's, forms of them lying at rest on top of the crypts, right? So just awesome little candles glowing there. Great art, very evocative. I can see where the entries and exits are. I can see which end has stairs, like really cool art, very evocative. And I feel like I'm building a castle here. You combine this with all the towers and everything. It's really going to make the game even more, just more of an experience than it already was. And again, I think the original Castle of Ludwig was fantastic, but this is just taking it to the next level. So I'm looking at the pieces that popped out here. I also love one of the things about the game that's really fun too, is that they do color coding. So the rooms all have shading to help you understand the kinds of rooms they are. For example, some of the rooms have sort of this purple feeling with purple rugs and purple stairs. They don't just shade it all the way. They actually just add the decorations to give it that color. And then other rooms have sort of a red tone. And it's the walls, the edges of the tokens that really pop the color out, but also the inside decorations. And so it's a neat way to use graphic design combined with artwork to really make it sing. The outdoor areas are usually very green, right? Lots of shrubbery and plants. So at a glance, again, you're thinking this is outdoors, this is indoors, this is a royal room, this is a relaxation room. And I'm using the wrong terminology here, but you get the idea. It's been a while since I played again. I apologize. But very cool, just the art, the evocativeness of this thing. I'm looking through all the whoops, I'm dropping tokens on the floor. I'm picking them up. And what's also, again, it's a square with 400 on the back end. Where that goes, oh man, I just want to organize this. Oh, I'm now looking deeper here. So I've gone through, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man, they're popping right out. I'm just counting these things, and the tokens are just flying all over the floor, which is actually awesome. It means, again, poking them out is going to be easy, although I'm making a bit of a mess, so I'll have to clean this up in a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sheets. Again, the size of the box, so about, 6 by 6, 7 by 7 sheets of castle interior tokens, right? Now, the next level is a very blue-looking sheet, and this has quick reference cards, nice thick cardstock quick reference cards. Man, these tokens are just shooting everywhere. It's awesome. Although, again, I got to clean my mess up. Awesome-looking three-dimensional sort of moat wall things, but then really cool three-dimensional, I'm not three-dimensional, awesome-looking tokens, cardstock, but walls, but then also these really cool, nice cardstock quick reference sheets, which will be great as well. And I'm looking at several of those in multiple levels. So there's like 1, 2, I'm seeing 3 sheets of these moat walls, 4 or 3 sheets of basically the moats, as well as these quick reference cards with a few more rooms hiding in there as well. I think I made it to the bottom of the box. And of course, there's more tokens hiding down there. Cardstock, because it all popped out. I'm going to have to pop this stuff out and put it in the box. So, how do I feel about this? Well, I think you can tell from the energy I've had describing this. I am more than pleased with the quality of components. I don't see how this could have been any cooler in terms of what a good job they did with the cardstock, with the art, with how easy it is to remove from the frames. The actual game trays themselves look fantastic. They look well organized. I got to start putting things in there, I suppose. Some of them might not be deep enough to hold everything. I think they are, but I won't know for sure until I start organizing. So stay tuned to that. I'll give you future reports on that. In terms of their super cool components, the stuff that you're paying a little extra for, the stuff that I paid the extra, it would have been a $99 box, and I upped it to $130 for the towers, as well as the metal coins, as well as the plastic swans, as well as a few more bits of cardboard for other organization. I have to say, totally worth $30. The towers alone, and the coins. I've bought metal coins before, the Waterdeep coins for both Dungeons and Dragons, but also Lords of Waterdeep. Those are like $30 by themselves. So already, the coins alone in this thing are worth the extra $30. The towers alone are probably worth $20. What else? Oh, and the swans. So, for $30, that was a great deal. I think that, I feel like I did back the sweet spot. Did I get the neoprene matte moats and all that cool stuff? No. Would I have liked that? Maybe. But one of the things that was nice about what they did with this Kickstarter was they also showed the number of boxes you were going to get. And I really like the idea for this particular game. As I mentioned before, I did not, I didn't back I don't play it super often, but I really wanted this to be in my collection. And I really wanted a very nice version of it to be in my collection. But I only wanted one box of it, right? I don't play it enough to really justify 2 boxes of it. So I was really pleased. So that was one of the reasons I went with this level 2, right? Like if I went to the next level, there'd be another box of stuff for all the neoprene and everything else. And they did a good job. It looked like, I mean, I haven't seen that particular delivery, but it looked like it was going to fit into 2 boxes nicely, which is cool. But I'm really a 1-boxer guy per game. Again, unless it's like a game that I'm really passionate about, or maybe there's miniatures or something like that. So I'm really pleased with this. I think I'm happy with my choice. And now the only thing to do is to poke everything out, sort it all out, get it all ready to go, and then try to lure some of my friends to play a game of Castles of Mad King Ludwig. So that was my thoughts on both this particular Kickstarter, which was delivered within a year and a half, which I think is pretty good. I think I was hoping to get it a little sooner. I was hoping to get it before some of my daughters went to college so I could play with them a little more. Of course, I'll have it for the holidays, and of course I can play with all my gaming friends. But that said, given the nature of the current supply chain and shipping and everything else that's going on in the world, I don't hold that against anyone. And I don't think they promised a particular date. So they didn't miss anything. I think this is fantastic. It exceeds my expectations for this. And I am super excited to get it to the table. So let me know what you guys think about your favorite Kickstarters, some of the ones you've gotten delivered lately. Let us know on Twitter at the D6 Generation, or head over to our Discord for patrons to let us know what's going on over there as well. And please let us know what you're seeing with your Kickstarters, what you like about Kickstarters, what you like to see when your Kickstarter gets delivered, what gives you confidence in this sort of stuff. And we'll see you next time on the D6 Generation. Thanks for listening.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by emailing us at info@the d6generation.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.